Welcome, modern day mystics, fellow truth seekers, James and Justin, back again with another reaction. We want to say happy Easter to everyone out there who's celebrating this time of the year. And with that in mind, we're going to react to a Easter video here done by the Bible Project. This is about the resurrection of Jesus out of the Gospel of Luke.
Right. Happy Easter. He is risen.
We've been looking at the story of Jesus as it's told in Luke's Gospel. It begins with the arrival of an unlikely king born in poor, humble circumstances.
Then we saw Jesus as a teacher and prophet. He went throughout Israel calling people to a radical way of life, where enemies become friends, the poor are cared for, where people find forgiveness for their failures.
He went from town to town inviting people to follow him and live under God's reign in this upside-down way.
And he did many signs and wonders, so many Israelites began to hope that he would rescue Israel from the Romans and set up a new kingdom of peace and justice. In short, that he would bring the kingdom of God.
Now, the religious leaders of the day were also hoping for God's kingdom, but to them, the message of Jesus was a threat.
Yeah, they had expected to gain power and prestige when this all went down. But Jesus said God's kingdom belongs to the poor, to the outsider, and that real power is serving others in love.
This conflict intensified when Jesus, while in Jerusalem, disrupted the temple sacrifices and called Israel's leaders a gang of rebels.
So they arrested Jesus, and they had him accused before the Roman authorities of being a rebel king. He was handed over for execution, even though he was innocent. Then he was taken outside the city and put to death on false charges.
This brings us to the final section of the Gospel of Luke. There was a religious leader named Joseph who opposed Jesus' execution and then requested to be given his body so he could bury Jesus in a nearby tomb.
And then a couple of days later, some women who had followed Jesus came to visit that tomb, and they found it open and empty. And they encountered these mysterious figures telling them Jesus was alive from the dead. So they run away terrified. Nobody believes their report. I mean, he can't be alive. They all saw him die.
Now, just outside of Jerusalem, a pair of Jesus' followers were leaving the city, traveling on a road to a town called Emmaus, and they were sad and confused about everything that had happened.
Then Jesus shows up, walking alongside them, but they don't know it's him.
Yeah, that's weird. Why couldn't they recognize him?
Yeah, it's an odd but really significant image for Luke. They're blind to Jesus for some reason. So Jesus asks them, "What are you guys talking about?"
And they begin to tell him about Jesus, a powerful prophet who they expected would rescue Israel, but was instead executed. Some women say he's alive, which is crazy. It's all too much. We're going home.
So Jesus tries to explain that this is what the Jewish scriptures had been pointing to all along. That Israel needed a king who would suffer and die as a rebel on behalf of those who actually are rebels. And then he would be vindicated by his resurrection so he could give true life to those who would receive it.
But it's still not making sense. They're as confused as ever.
Which leads to the scene where they sit down for a meal with Jesus. He takes the bread, he blesses it, breaks it, and gives it to them, just as he did at the Last Supper.
Yeah, this is the image of his broken body, his death on the cross.
And it's when they take in the broken bread, that's when their eyes are open to see Jesus. Then he disappears, and the episode's over.
So this is a story about how it's hard to see Jesus for who he really is.
Yes, this is brilliant. I mean, how could God's royal power and love be revealed through this man's shameful execution? How could a humble man become the king of the world through weakness and self-sacrifice? It's very hard to see. But this is the message of the Gospel of Luke. It takes a transformation of your imagination to see it and embrace Jesus' upside-down kingdom.
The Gospel of Luke ends with Jesus and all of his disciples together over another meal, and everyone's freaking out about his resurrected body. I mean, he's still a human, but way more.
Yes, he's passed through death and come out the other side, a walking, talking piece of new creation. And then Jesus tells them that he's going to give them the same divine power that sustained him, so they can go out and share the good news of God's kingdom with other people.
After this, Luke tells us that Jesus was taken up into heaven, which is a cool exit and all, but why disappear into the sky?
So in the Old Testament, the skies are the place of God's throne. They're above everything. So this is Luke's way of showing that Jesus has been enthroned as the divine king of the whole world.
His followers stay in Jerusalem, worshiping God and Jesus, waiting for this new power, and this is where the gospel ends.
Now, Luke is going to write about how they receive this power and take the news out into the world, and that's what his second volume, the book of Acts, is all about.
Another great one done by the Bible Project.
Jesus pulled an undercover boss.
An undercover boss?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Well, yeah, I guess. Well, you can pull a lot of themes out of these here, and that being one of them where they could not see who Jesus was until he had revealed himself.
Yeah.
And that says something about, the whole free will thing too, right? And, who's actually making the choice here? And it's like, you'll see when you're ready to see, or you'll get it whenever God decides to reveal it to you, right?
Could be.
Whenever I watch these stories, certain, it's amazing how many times you can hear them and then you get something new out of them, or you see something that you didn't see before. But what really stuck out in that video was the theme of kingdoms and the alternate kingdoms, and how Jesus brought in the heavenly kingdom. And I know a lot of people in the Christian faith believe that he only partially brought it. He only kind of revealed it and that it will be in full display when the new earth has arrived and everyone's in heaven after Judgment Day and everything. That will be the full kingdom. But Jesus also said that the kingdom of God is within you. And I actually tend to think that heaven is here. Heaven and hell are both here simultaneously at the exact same time. And that, I don't know, it's a battle to be, within each kingdom, and how counterintuitive, because Jesus' kingdom is all about total selflessness, right? And it feels like the ruling kingdom of the day is the, I got to get my kingdom going, get the selfish.
Feels like that kingdom, the I got to get my thing, is the ever-present, historically most common version. You know what I mean? I was talking to my wife this morning about just the idea of a prophet even warning people about the things to come. And I'm like, there's always this prophetic figure that's kind of on the outskirts warning everybody that's different, but when you watch the news, when you watch everything, people present there's things that we should all care about, right? Right, Karen? Okay, got it.
Yeah.
People present themselves. It's like an adult thing to be like, dude, of course the adult thing to do is present yourself as a magnanimous, caring person, but don't be naive. We're all this other way underneath. That's seems like a divergent minded thing to even want to address that or look at that. How are people, wait a sec, why are people say they're one way but behave a different way? And then all the, so many scriptures seem to be about, these lofty goals, and only weirdos actually believe that. No, I'm a deacon at the church. I am a pastor, but only weirdos. I'm creeped out by the guy that actually takes the Bible seriously. I have to be oh, I've got a meeting, I gotta go if I run into that guy.
Yeah.
It seems to be like that, and I think that's what I'm saying is an oddball thing to even notice, to even look at that and regard that. It's shut up.
Yeah.
You just it's
weird.
White lies lubricate society.
Especially when you're in Western society, right? And as affluent as, we are over here. And then you go and you read, these scriptures. It's hard to relate to. It's and Jesus had no place to lay his head. And it was how does my line up with anything that's going on in here? It's it's just two different worlds, and then it becomes scary. It becomes threatening. It was what would happen if I actually started to potato sack it? Oh no!
Well, people put it on Jesus. They're I'm so not like that. Blessed be him, because I gotta go and confess that I'm not like that. But some of the stuff Jesus said was if you're of me, you'll do what I tell you. If you're of me, of the Father, so that means. I still think it's okay. I think the fact of the matter is wide is the road to hell, and most people aren't of him. It's exclusive to be awakened, enlightened, saved, whatever all these highest things are. I do think that they're rare, but nevertheless, I think the message is, you should be trying to do that. It's not an excuse blessed be the Lamb, so I don't have to.
But I also hate to put in your time. We talk a lot about that on this channel. You will find your way, eventually, whether it's in this life or the next life. It's like, it's not like a, break it. I don't like to be like, I don't like to be,
Look at my fingers right now. I'm trying to be entertaining. Like, I could take it or I understand without any judgment. I'm part of the human race.
Yeah.
I've got all kinds of things that Jesus would probably disapprove of.
Yeah.
But one thing I wanted to mention was, this is kind of an odd thing. I noticed sometimes when we do Christian stuff, I'm unfairly, like, this is the first time I really noticed it. I was like, out the gate, I have an aversion because we grew up in the Christian church. This is the faith we're most accustomed to. And my religious trauma bubbles up from it. And I'm like, oh, I'm not being fair. I have to like take this the same way I would take all these other religions.
Yeah.
Because sometimes it takes years to get over.
Yeah.
Look up what religious trauma is.
Yeah. I hear you. Sometimes I feel like I can be like that, it just, comes and it goes. Sometimes I'm better than others.
Yeah.
But anyway, happy Easter. Good
Happy
message
Easter.
out there.
Yeah.
Let us know what you guys think about the stories. Anything you want to comment on from that video or what we had to say here. Hopefully you liked it. If you did, don't forget to hit the like, subscribe, share this with a friend. And everyone, until next time, stay spiritual.